Is the Novi man arrested in Russia a spy or a bargaining chip? Tonight, the 7 investigators are digging into what led to Paul Whelan's arrest and clues that could answer that question.
7 investigator Ross Jones joining us now with the latest in this mystery, Ross, that continues to grow.
Linda, Dave, good evening. He's been sitting in a Russian prison cell for the last 12 days with no end in sight. And if Paul Whelan is a spy, one local expert says he'd be very surprised.
I don't even know what to think.
I don't think there's any chance that he was a spy.
The long arm of the Russian government reached into our backyard last week when Novi resident Paul Whelan was arrested and accused of espionage.
And if the detention is not appropriate, we will demand his immediate return.
Until last week, almost no one knew who Paul Whelan was. And what we do know now only adds to the mystery. Whelan is a former Marine, discharged after being court-martialed for larceny. He has 4 passports from 4 different countries and a fascination with Russia and with Russians. It was a friend's wedding there, his family says, that brought him to the country last week.
It's a society that's built on fear and suspicion.
Melvin Levitsky is a retired U.S. ambassador and assistant secretary of state whose career in diplomacy made him very familiar with how Moscow operates.
And of course there's Kissinger.
Today, he's a professor of policy and practice at the Gerald R. Ford School at the University of Michigan. According to Russian media, Whelan was arrested in his hotel room moments after he accepted a flash drive that contained the names of Russian intelligence agents.
What a coincidence, 5 minutes after he gets past the flash drive. Obviously, they had their eye on him.
Have you ever seen a case quite like this one?
Well, there was a case back in the 1980s.
Levitsky says this case reminds him of what happened to journalist Nick Daniloff, arrested by the KGB and accused of espionage. He spent 13 days in the same prison where Whelan sits today, and the parallels don't end there.
Somebody gave him a package. They took the package, they photographed it, they arrested him on the spot. It was all a set-up deal.
So the names have changed, but the playbook is still the same.
It's sort of what we would call deja vu all over again.
And if it hadn't been for President Reagan's taking a very deep and personal interest in my case, it would probably be some years before I could stand in front of you.
Daniloff was finally released in a trade with the Soviet Union. But could Whelan actually be a spy? While we don't know for certain what brought him to Moscow, Levitsky says nothing about this case suggests Whelan is a U.S. agent.
We wouldn't have been this sloppy. Normally, you would have our spies under cover so that they couldn't be arrested in this way.
The cover, Levitsky says, wouldn't be as a businessman, but as a diplomat. That way, if the agent is caught, he or she would be returned to the U.S. Embassy. That's what happened when Ryan Fogel was arrested by Russian officials in 2013, donning a blonde wig. He was ultimately returned to U.S. custody.
I can't imagine, that the CIA or any of the intelligence agencies would put someone in that kind of situation, given the relationship right now.
As for how this will end, Levitsky's best guess is what others have already predicted, that Whelan will become a bargaining chip, used to secure the release of Maria Butina, the Russian agent who pleaded guilty to trying to influence our election, but hasn't yet been sentenced.
Unless the administration has changed its ways, we will do anything we can to get an American citizen back to the United States.
Now, Paul Whelan doesn't have a wife or children, but his siblings have been working for his release since he first went missing. They say that for days he was without toiletries, a change of clothing, even his eyeglasses, but things have made progress since. A Russian government official says recently talk of any prisoner exchange, however, is way too premature. So this dance is going to go on for some time.
Not too premature for Whelan, I'm sure, but yeah, for the
3 siblings who are working very hard to try to get him back. 4 different countries are trying to get him back, but no end in sight right now.
Sounds like a coincidence, but some convenience.
Very, very convenient.
All right, Ross.
Thank you.